Hi folks, welcome to CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. Thanks for joining us on a brand new episode. With me on the program today, we've got the Ashok Leyland Style. Now this is the first time that a big commercial vehicle giant like Ashok Leyland is stepping into the passenger vehicle space. So we'll run you through some of the details. You've seen the car before on the program, but we've got the prices and we've got a few of its attributes that we'd like to talk about. That's coming up later on the show. Also on today's program is a brand new two-wheeler. The TVS Jupiter is a new scooter from the Southern two-wheeler company, and it's trying to do something a little bit different in the scooter space, especially for TVS. What is that and what's the Jupiter all about? Let's jump straight into our review. It's been a while since we had an all-new product from TVS. The Southern major has been quiet, but has been promising us something big for a while. And here it is at last. They're calling it the Jupiter. Why? Well, we can't really fathom the relation to the name, but it's different all right. After a flurry of women-only scooters, which the men bought anyway, we're now getting scooters aimed squarely at the male buyer. The Hero Maestro was the last one like it, and the new Jupiter aims to rival that scooter, besides the Honda Aviator and Activa. In terms of styling, nothing revolutionary, nothing that really stands out, but remember that TVS was trying to go in a different direction styling-wise, because it is trying to attract a different demographic. So what you've seen on the Wigo, what you've seen on the Scooty, etc., well, you see hints of that here, but it's a slightly bolder face. The headlamp is a little bit sort of bigger and more prominent. But otherwise, when you look at the scooter, you get hints of other bikes that are already on the market. Scooters like the Maestro, perhaps even the Aviator from Honda in some senses, especially the way the flank comes into the back. But there is one little feature that might get a little bit extra attention, and that's the fact that unlike most scooters where you have to raise the seat to refuel, here there's a simple little, there you go, just a turn of the key and you have the fuel the fuel hatch right here at the back. So that's convenient, different, and an interesting design feature as well, if you want to call it that. So that is different for sure. What I also like is that unlike most scooters, the Jupiter has under-seat storage for not just an open face, but a full helmet too. Neat. There's also a mobile charger there. The Jupiter also has a slightly wider and longer footboard, which makes not just a more spacious area for the rider's legs, but also gives you a nicer stance overall. And though the seat itself is also wider and a little more comfortable, given that it is trying to go macho, I would have liked a bit more ride height overall. Now, let's ride. The Jupiter is based on the underpinnings of the Wigo. Now, I remember being very impressed with that scooter when it first arrived. Figures are staggeringly similar. Now, ironically enough, there's a certain sense of ampleness, perhaps, that I found to be a little greater on the Wigo. That doesn't really come through on this particular product. Why I say ironic? Because this one's supposed to be more butch. Yes, I wish TVS had not worried that much about mileage alone and given the Jupiter an extra shot of power, tuned the engine to offer more vroom, and even given it a slightly stiffer suspension to offer a different feel. The scooter has the familiar TVS Eco and Power Mode indicators though to help you achieve that claimed mileage. The scooter performed pretty well on uneven surfaces and broken roads too. On the whole, the Jupiter is a welcome addition to the market. At a time, the scooter is finding favor once more for its convenience and ease of operation, in tough city traffic especially. Is it a lot more butch than its rivals? No, we still think the Vigo with its disc brakes is a more compelling package. But with prices staying a good 2 to 3 grand lower than its rivals, the Jupiter will have to be on your radar if you're in the market for a new scooter. Now here on CNB, we very often like to reward you. You know about all the contests that we do. We have a couple of them running right now. But let's go back to our awards night. The CNB Viewers' Choice Contest is the big one every year where you have the chance to drive home a new car or bike. Well, we've already shown you our car winner. Now it's our turn to check in on the guy who won that Honda Dream Yuga. Now this is someone who has his first bike ever. So lots of excitement for our winner, Arun Nair.
Special award for the car and bike team. It's called the Car and Bike Viewers' Choice Award.
Honda Dream Yuga.
It was once again time for us to make a lucky viewer very happy. This time we caught up with a 30-year-old Arun Nair, who is a senior purchase executive from Delhi. Arun had won our annual CNB Viewers' Choice Two-Wheeler of the Year contest. He was one of thousands who voted for the Honda Dream Yuga for the 2013 award, and when the bike garnered the maximum votes, his dream too came true.
I'm regularly watching CNB car bike show, and I came to know by my friend's reference, and I bought it online. Then suddenly I got a call from NDTV and Honda that I won this bike. Being a first bike and I won from this contest. So I'm feeling very proud and feeling very good that I won this bike.
So the first bike ever for Arun, and that makes it all the more special, isn't it? He has now happily decided to ditch the crowded Delhi metro and commute to work on his brand new bike. Arun has chosen the self-drum alloy variant dressed in red. This bike has a 109cc engine with 8.25 bhp on tap.
We'd like to thank NDTV Car and Bike Show for organizing this wonderful event, and especially from the customers' perspective, because they are given the right and their chance to vote for their best bike.
Well, Arun and his family are very proud and happy, and for Arun it is a life-altering win. Remember, when it is CNB, you win big. Watch out for the CNB Viewers' Choice Contest 2014 later this year, right here on India's most watched auto show.
Time for us to slip into a short break here on CNB. As we do that, our sector snapshot. Join us on the other side. A fair amount of interior space inside this cabin of the Style from Ashok Leyland. Welcome back to CNB. Now, that's not surprising because this is based on that NV platform from Nissan. You have the Evalia from Nissan on the same platform, and globally, it's used in its various avatars primarily for people moving. And so that's the kind of attribute that even Ashok Leyland wants to play up with this car. Remember, it's been chosen as the New York cab recently. So all New York yellow cabs will soon be based on the same platform as well. So ample space at the back. You've got 7- and 8-seater configurations. An Indian market demand to have those bucket seats in the second row. So you've got those as well as an option. And in the front, I won't say that this is the most comfortable driving position because it's a little upright and it's a little truck-like, especially the angle at which the steering sits. So that's like the Evalia. It's a short gear stalk here, and that's convenient because it's easy to reach, and the gearing is also not so bad. I mean, I would have liked to have a 6th gear, but let's not forget that this is supposed to be an economical model. So all of that works fairly well. The ride height and position is a little awkward, but ride comfort and overall suspension settings have been done pretty well. The Style is essentially a people mover, so don't expect wood and leather seat trim. The cabin is airy, flexible and very roomy. The seating is a bit upright, but not terribly uncomfortable. I am very disappointed though that despite throwing in such a big USP over the Evalia in the form of that rear AC vent, the overall fit and finish and plastic quality of that vent tower is shoddy and cheap, unlike the rest of the dash and door plastics, which are actually pretty good. The car drives well, has a solid feel and turns easily too. It doesn't have the overall drivability of the Innova, but it is miles ahead of the rest. After all, it too is a Japanese engineered product at the end of the day. And the powertrain uses the now familiar block on Indian roads. The numbers are healthy and it shows up on the road. Now the Style has certainly taken its time coming to the market because we first showed it to you from the Auto Expo in January 2012. Compare it to the vehicle it's based on and it certainly looks very different, and at that time too I remember making this point that the front grille and just the way that it's been finished off in terms of its detail, it's very attractive. It almost looks like somebody took that kind of a car to someone like Dilip Chhabria to completely rework it and make it more stylish, more attractive, which is interesting given the fact that the Evalia is supposed to be more upmarket and the Style is supposed to be very much for the fleet buyer. Now, quick word about the name Style. It started off as being Stile, the Italian sort of a name or nomenclature, but somewhere along the way, the guys at Ashok Leyland just decided that, you know what, it's not going to work. People are just going to read that as Style in India, so let's just call it Style. So that's all right. I think that's a good idea in some senses. Very Evalia-like in terms of overall proportions and shape, and there are a few differences though that you see in the metal. Again, that's a good thing because when you open it up, you get an instant sense of space, and from the outside also the metal conveys that, so that's one good thing. Come around to the back, and this is where things start getting a little bit boring in terms of styling because it's a huge door at the rear. You do have the Style badging back here and a nice prominent Ashok Leyland badging. Again, that's something different, isn't it, for this segment. And open up the rear hatch and you can see that even with the third row of seats, there is a fairly respectable sort of space for cargo. So big suitcases, etc., nice airport pickup vehicle. It does fill all of those requirements and fits that kind of a need that fleet buyers especially will have from a vehicle like this. All right, so those are the numbers looking fairly healthy, and I'm about to get the Style out on the road. But before that, let's delve into something which is a little special for us. Now, we have been telling you about how we're celebrating 10 years of CNB. So a trip down memory lane is what we're going to do now, and we're going to start off right back where it all started for us. Our very first episode. I thought it'll be a nice little glimpse into our history to bring you this. Welcome to the Car and Bike Show, a brand new program here on NDTV 24/7. If you're one of those who's always dreamt of fancy cars or cool bikes, we're going to turn those dreams into reality. Every weekend, we're going to bring you the best from the automobile world, and we'll also have tips on how to keep your wheels running smooth.
As we look back on our 10-year history, here's a look at the big firsts. Some of our very first bike reviews featured the now obsolete Bajaj Wind and Hero Honda Passion Plus.
Hero Honda knows the secret of a long life for the Passion. Frequent changes in the looks of the bike is a surefire way of holding the consumer's attention. New features on this deluxe commuter bike include body-colored rear-view mirrors, halogen lamps, new dials, and even a heat protector for your better half's feet.
When it comes to performance, the engine is solid, but don't expect to actually feel like you're riding the wind, because once the speed goes past 80 km per hour, the engine seems to struggle to gain more momentum, and there is a tad fall in the bike's stability too. Now on to where the bike is definitely different. We took the Wind 125 out on the road, and it proved to be quite a fun ride. Well, our ride showed that Bajaj has done some pretty impressive work on this front. The motorcycle takes to the rough with great aplomb. That means no matter how many bumps the road throws at you, it's smooth sailing.
Our very first car review came from the outskirts of Chennai at the Hyundai plant. It was a big exclusive too. Yes, we scoped the third generation Elantra.
Well, first impression, it's a nice responsive cami engine. The gear change is pretty smooth too, and the best part about it is that in city traffic, you won't have to change gears too often, which some of the cars in this class seem to have as a niggling problem. That's something that's going to appeal to buyers. The car has a good ride feel. The rear suspension keeps the tires firmly on the ground, even on bumpy roads, to keep the rear of the car from bouncing around. A huge plus for Indian roads. The advantage of a notchback as opposed to a sedan is that you get a lot more luggage space. You also get a lot more options with that space. There you go, cavernous, isn't it? You can even take your pet elephant for a ride.
Our first bike shootout saw the TVS Victor, LML Freedom and Bajaj Caliber do battle. Interestingly, TVS is toying with the idea of reviving the Victor brand name. And our first massive showdown on the car side came in the form of a C-segment clash between the Maruti Suzuki Baleno, Ford Icon, Hyundai Accent and the new car on the block way back in 2003, the very futuristic-looking Honda City. Our first SUV review was an all-new entry into the space by Ford with the Endeavour. Wow, that car's changed lots since then, eh?
The SUV handles quite well on the road, but that results in a hardness to the ride feel. The SUV comes fully loaded. The only variant is a non-four-wheel drive. The Endeavour's biggest USP though is its price. It's 12.9 lakh rupees for the two-wheel drive and a lakh more for the four-wheel option. This is ex-showroom Delhi.
CNB was the first TV show to take you into a global motor show, and that was at the Makuhari Messe in Chiba for the Tokyo Motor Show exactly 10 years ago too, in October 2003.
This week we are coming to you from Japan. That's right, we're here for the 37th Tokyo Motor Show, Asia's most high-profile automobile show that's held every 2 years. This week we've traveled all the way across to Europe to bring you the Paris Motor Show. We're at the Seoul Motor Show in South Korea. This week we come to you from London.
Yep, that was a solid first few weeks on the show, as you can see, and we want to round it off with a glimpse of our first ever plant visit. That was at the Suzuki Global Headquarters at Hamamatsu in Japan.
Hamamatsu is the hometown to one of the world's biggest and most prolific car makers, the small car specialists and the big daddy of the Indian automobile industry, Suzuki Motor Corporation or SMC. Suzuki's biggest plant in Japan, here at Kosai. The number of cars produced every day, 2,570 units. If we were to look at that in terms of working hours, it works out to about a car a minute. Time for us to wrap up the program here. I hope you liked that little delve into our past. React to what you've seen today on the program as always, and yes, we have that Jensen button contest where you can join me for our 10-year anniversary celebration here in New Delhi. The question today, quite simply on our top story, I want to know on which existing TVS product the new Jupiter is based. Where does it share its underpinnings? That's the answer I need. All you have to do is type in the option number of the 3 options you see on your screen and send that along with your name and city to 56388 from your cell phone. On that note then, it's goodbye, and please wear your seatbelts, please wear your helmets. I'll see you next week.